All right, so now the recording's going. I'm excited, super excited to have Laura here with us. Laura Lacursi owns Elite Virtual Assistants, which is a boutique virtual assistant firm, which means that she has a whole bunch of staff that can do a whole bunch of stuff that may or may not fit the needs that you guys have. So what I was hoping we could do is have Laura start out with just a general overview around, hey, here are some of the things that VAs can do. And then I know the three of you have been doing some work on, here are some things that oh my God, Liz, your post yesterday was awesome. I sent it to Laura. I snipped it and said, they are so excited that you are. And so then just use her brain, ask her, ask her questions, get crazy. That's what she's here for. All right. All to you, Laura.
Well, so, virtual assistants honestly can do anything that does not require somebody to be obviously physically in an office. So I always think of, they're not going to be able to greet people. They are not going to be able to physically. But other than that, they can really do anything. So like typically when I'm talking to somebody, I always like to try to understand like what your challenges are. Where is the place that you feel that you need help? The main areas that people typically outsource are like they might fall under the way that our agency does it. Let me just tell you this, because basically we cover 4 different areas of skill sets, let's say. So there's the personal / executive / legal assistant. And so obviously they do anything that an executive assistant can do. And especially with, the world being pretty much virtual anymore. I mean, everybody is able to work from home, has home offices. It's nice because you don't have to worry about somebody taking up space or having to be in an office with somebody. So, and they also fit in nice to kind of complement the staff that you already have in place. Because sometimes you might only need a couple hours, maybe 5 extra hours a week that maybe you personally don't need it, but maybe one of your staff members needs it. So sometimes I like to look at it as, and Lisa and I have coined this phrase, the assistant's assistant. Because a lot of times that really is where they can come into play if they're not working, if you already have a team in place. So under like that umbrella of the executive assistant or even a legal assistant, they can basically do anything from managing your inbox to managing your calendar, scheduling appointments, I know like when we work for attorneys, we do a lot of client intake. We do a lot of interviews as far as like witnesses, things like that, reminding people about their appointments or, a deposition or something like that. So anything really under that administrative umbrella can be done, by a virtual assistant admin. Then you can kind of scoot over to the digital marketing assistants. And so what that typically entails is somebody helping with maybe posting your social media, creating graphics for that. A lot of times people send a newsletter out or they really want to send a newsletter out, but it's something that they don't get to very often. Doing that, setting up like simple sales funnels, maybe you have an opt-in on your website, so they'll, funnel it over to whatever email system you're using. And then, they might have like a introductory, hey, thanks for joining our email list. Here's something, like maybe give them a piece of content or what have you, and they can create that as well. And then just, obviously drip on them regularly, which, when you get busy, that's why people like Liz too come in handy, because when you get busy, the first thing to go typically is your marketing, because people just don't have, they don't have time to keep up with it. So that's the digital marketing side. then, you can also have somebody that basically just can run your entire social media campaign for you. So like we have a couple people on our team that are, complete experts in it. So they spend more time doing training than they're actually working because it changes all the time. But they know the difference between, what the difference between posting on Instagram versus Facebook versus Twitter versus Pinterest, because it's, characters are different, sizes of your graphics are different, creating the content, analyzing where's traffic coming from, where am I getting traction, where am I not. So those are like the full-blown social media campaigns. And then also web design. So, whether it's designing a website, whether it's taking what you already have and you just need edits, or, if you have a WordPress site, those plugins are forever updating. And, when you don't stay on top of it and have somebody that's, keeping track of it, I'm sure it's happened to you guys in the past where, there's like, oh, these, need to be updated. There's a problem with the website. Maybe there's, you do a blog and you want to just add a blog to it every month. So there's a lot of things, within websites too that can, range anywhere from just maintenance to creating landing pages, things like that. So that's kind of like a very general overview of those 4 areas. So I guess, what would probably be best is for, you guys to really kind of just jump in and say where you're struggling. And then I can at least tell you, yeah, that's definitely something somebody can do. Or, because I could tell you one thing that we do not do, and unless you have, I guess, a VA that's just really dedicated to working with you, like we do not do any receptionist type work. And that's just because most of our VAs have a couple different clients. So they can't always basically be on call. The way that we would do something like that is they would have to, they answer the phone when they can get to it, but if they can't, then it would roll to a voicemail, and then those messages are checked periodically throughout the day, and then, return calls are made. But they do have different services that have like actual reception services, like Ruby Receptionist or something, where that's all that they do. So that's probably the only service that, we personally don't provide, but they do have, actual agencies that'll do that for you.
All right, who has something? Let's just consider this next part Stump Laura. So let's see what you have.
I'm sure I'm not going to stump her with this question. It's a basic question. What is it like, the process for having someone manage your email?
Well, that honestly is varies between people. It could be something. It depends on. Actually, let me put it this way. It depends on your level of comfort sharing your complete access to your email with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times when we're doing work like that, it's a matter of the VA goes in, would go into your email, let's say either the night before or early in the morning, and would sort through. And it does take some time initially for you to explain to somebody, okay, well, these are the kinds of things that I want. Like, let's say, you subscribe to certain newsletters that you want to review.
Mm-hmm.
Move those into a review folder. If there's action emails that only you can respond to, that would get put in a separate folder that would be just for you, whether you want to call it your to-do folder, your hot folder, whatever it is. And then a lot of emails that come in might just get like a canned response, thank you for contacting us, this is our process, whatever it is. So those would be emails that they could specifically handle for you. So
right.
You'd have to set that up in whatever system would work for you, but they could go in, sort it out. So you're not actually sitting there fishing through your emails, somebody's sorting it out, and the only thing you have to worry about is your hot folder, and then when you have time, your review folder.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. And I imagine that one of the big benefits of that is I wouldn't get distracted by my email. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, Lisa's got a great tip for that, though. That was one of the best tips I ever
You
got.
love that tip.
Oh my gosh, I use it every day.
Which one?
Go, tell them the magic tip that has changed your life.
Yeah, put the do not disturb on your email.
Oh, yeah.
Because I get lost. If I'm working on something, 9 times out of 10, I have to refer back to my email for some reason, and then I get sucked in to reading everything that came in. So now when I put the do not disturb on, nothing comes through until I tell it to, and it's so nice.
Nice.
What is the do not disturb? What is that?
You can, or work offline.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So I use G Suite, and I added this, it's like I think it was a Chrome extension or something. It's literally called Do Not Disturb. And I just turn it on, and it'll just store all my emails until I turn it off, and then it all populates in.
Really? Oh, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I use that too. In the
Nice.
G Suite as well. Yeah.
Snooze, which helps too. Which is like,
What's that?
okay, I use the snooze on the Gmail, the G Suite, where I know I have to deal with that, but it's not. I can just see the heading and know, oh yeah, I have to deal with that, but I'll deal with it later. I'll just snooze it so that it doesn't keep sucking me in to deal with it. Because if I touch it, I have to deal with it, and because otherwise I just forget. And same way, get sucked in, and then all of a sudden it's half an hour later.
Yes, it's awful.
So I have a question for you. So one of the things that I personally struggle with is like on bigger projects, like, you know, if we're designing a website or something, that's a project that lasts at least 3 months. It's just kind of projects like that. It's like, I don't have a project manager. I'm project manager, art director, everything else. So is project management something that can also be done by you, by a virtual assistant?
Yes.
And then how does that work? Like, how does that look? Like, what kind of support, or is it just?
It's probably better if I give you an example of one that we're doing right now. Is for a law firm, and they have different freelancers, not through us, but that they use for their marketing. So they have a graphic design person, they have a content writer, they have 4 people on their marketing team. And our project manager oversees all 4 of them and maintains the timeline, you know, make sure that everybody's piece is done, and turned in when it's due. And if it's not, or if it's late, she's the one reaching out to, say, hey, where is this? This is late. So she just really keeps all of the parts moving.
Okay.
How she manages the 4 people on this marketing team.
Okay, so that person isn't client facing, like they're not contacting. Well, in this case, this is for the actual law firm itself. But in our case, if it were for like an outside client and we really needed to stay on top of a client to deliver, content to us,
Right.
is that is something they could follow up with and stay on top of?
Definitely.
Make sure.
Right.
Okay.
Right. It would still work the same, more of the same way, but they would just be dealing directly with the client instead of the freelancers.
Okay. And I'm assuming that, like, if you work with a virtual assistant, you keep that virtual assistant for that particular bucket of services, or is that do you stay with that person, or do you kind of bop around depending on schedules, or how does that work?
No, when we match clients with virtual assistants, it's always for the long haul. We don't use the team approach as far as you tell us what you need and whoever's available works on it. There are agencies that do that, but we work with the one-on-one relationship. I've just, seen a lot of success with it. Now, I'm not going to lie. There's times that the relationships don't work out. So we will, we always have backup. because we have people in all 4 of those categories, so we can always bring somebody else in. I mean, obviously we never want it to be that way, but it does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Okay.
anybody
And let me jump in really quick here. The other thing that's helpful that I have found with Laura is that, let's say the virtual assistant I have that is like my person that I deal with directly and that I do all this stuff with, if there's something I need that's outside her skill set, or something that I need turned around really quickly and she's unavailable, that we already knew that going in, like on vacation or whatever, I can shoot her an email and she can get something done. So like I needed a graphic. I needed my logos changed to black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how. I didn't even know what the extension meant that they wanted it in. Like I was like, oh my, I don't know this. And I didn't think, I was pretty sure my person didn't have that skill set either. And I knew that with our time zone difference, like it wasn't going to happen quick enough. So I just emailed Laura. Laura sent it to Chrissy. Chrissy sent it back like within an hour, and away we went. So not that you always get that, but just in this case, it happened that quickly.
Right.
But know that even though you have a person dedicated to you, if what you need falls outside of their strongest skill set, there's other options.
Okay. And I think, Laura, I saw that on your website, I saw that you had also a vacation service, or I'm going on vacation next week. So, so that one kind of jumped out at me as something that I was wondering like what that entailed.
Vacation service. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Okay, I'm gonna look at this now. Hold on, I gotta see what that is.
Okay, where did I see that?
Thinking that. Oops. Hold on, I gotta take a look now.
Okay, where did I see that?
Under services?
It was on-demand staffing solutions.
Oh, on-demand staffing. Okay. Oh, yeah. Right. So if you have, okay, I was like, wait, is there something on there that I don't know?
I almost stumped you.
I put everything on there. Yeah, so like if somebody is going on vacation, like a staff member or something, and you need somebody to come in and handle things, while they're gone, then yeah, we can, definitely do something like that. I mean, they would need a little bit of lead time really to understand, what they were doing, but
not like the Wednesday before, right? No, we got this one covered. It's okay. But just wondering about that one.
Yeah.
So I wonder though, Liz, if maybe that's not a potential thing like when Jenny goes on vacation.
Well, so yeah, I mean, that's something that based on what she handles in the back end software that we use is so obscure that it's probably not a good fit, but yeah, that.
Okay. What else? No one stumped Laura yet, though you were close, Liz.
I was close.
I do have a question, although probably my need is more on the receptionist area, and that was one of my questions. So as far as like the difference between a receptionist service and a virtual assistant. But as far as like your social media marketing, email list, all that stuff, do you do bilingual Spanish?
We have not. I have a VA that is bilingual. I actually have 2 that are bilingual. So are you saying that you would want like the email?
Yeah, so if I send a mass email to everybody, I usually do in English and Spanish.
Okay.
Because more than half of my patient panel is Spanish speaking.
Okay.
So everything I do, if it's an individual email, I just, whatever, I know who speaks Spanish and who doesn't. But if it's a mass email, I don't send 2 separate communications because it would just take forever to sort through the list. So I just do one email with kind of, and I don't translate it. I just just write it in English and write it in Spanish because we speak funny. And then but I've been thinking since day one of doing like a newsletter quarterly, maybe, on health issues of, it's cold season or it's allergy season, what to do, what things you can take over the counter, kind of creating some content to a mailing list. And it would be nice if it could be like front and back, and like the front is in English and the back's in Spanish. But it's just a thought. Excuse me?
Is that a paper mailing that you're talking about then?
No, just fake front and back. Like if you could have like the same content, but in the same newsletter is in both languages. So then you don't have to sort through who speaks what. You just do the same mailing in both. Like when I do a post on my on Facebook, like social media, I think most times I do in English, but sometimes I do both. So I'll do a post and then I'll put English and Spanish. Or sometimes I throw the same post and then do it in Spanish too, so that it's available in both languages.
Okay.
The same stuff.
Yeah, actually, the girl that I have, the one girl that I have that is bilingual, she is a digital marketing person.
Okay.
So, yeah, she could help.
So that part of digital, okay.
Yeah.
So not to get off topic, but Dr. Mott, you could actually segment your list, when depending on
the thing is, it's weird because I do it through the medical record.
So you don't use like an email.
Exactly. And it's nice that it's through the medical record, because you would be surprised of how many times I send a thing. Hey, I'm going to be off on this date, and people respond to that saying, hey, I need my refill of whatever. So then it's still their chart versus being an email that then I have to like print in, let there's record that they asked for that. So it's kind of nice that it's through the software, because it becomes, people reply to that with you would be surprised the questions they ask. I'm glad they don't say reply all. I don't think they could, the way the software is done. But I don't have a mailing platform separate.
Yeah, sounds like that would be could be a different can of worms.
A different. Like if I do it like that, maybe it could be for also perspectives. And, like you go to the website, getting an idea. You go to the website and maybe you're not ready to sign up, but you can sign up to get a newsletter, right?
Yeah, and to get health tips
But then that would be, like an email thing. And then I can have patients sign up to that, but then it's not part of their medical record. Oh, good idea.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Thank you. Yes. And that whole thing is something a VA can do from start to finish. That's something
delegate.
a VA can do. Yep.
So can a VA actually then create content, and then what would be needed from us to create I mean like an educational piece or a story or something like that, or an infographic?
I mean, you would really just need to, because we do a lot of newsletters, especially for clients. So it's really, it's similar to doing a social media though. It's learning your voice. So obviously going back over some of the things you've sent out, if there's specific information that you need included, they would have to know that. And, it takes a little bit of time for them to, learn your voice. I mean, obviously some people can pick that up a little quicker than others, but I usually just recommend giving them an outline, of what you want in there, because most of the time you have an idea of the content. You just don't want to sit down and write the whole thing. So, and I know like with me, because I have somebody that does like all of my social media for me. So she'll send me everything like a week ahead. And then a lot of times for me, it's like, I'm going to change this to this. Like I need somebody to lay it out for me. And then all I have to do is go in and make some changes versus trying to continually come up with that content.
Yeah. Okay.
I
wonder if you could just give them, like in my case, I could just give you, some educational material, and I say, just take this as the guideline of what it needs to include. But it needs to be, it's nice that it's Sometimes it's nice that it's not a medical person writing that stuff, because if I write it, it's all going to be medical mumbo jumbo that nobody's going to understand. But if it's a non-medical, then they can put it in more like normal people words. And
Right.
given this, okay, these are the 3 educational pieces from like Mayo Clinic or whatever that we can use. Not word by word, right? You're not plagiarizing, but you can kind of get the idea of what they can do, and then you just review it.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying? You just review it. I like that. Yeah.
Review it, make sure, and again, it would take a little bit of time for them to really get down what you're trying to express, but especially with something like that. So you're giving them the content and they really just need to take it and make it, user friendly to the reader.
Is it easier for somebody to, like, if you were to say, okay, for the second quarter, we're doing X number of newsletters, a hard copy newsletter, and we need all this content, kind of like do it all at once for the VA? Is it easier for them to kind of batch it all together if we can think that far ahead?
So funny that you bring that up. I listen to Amy Porterfield like every week. Yeah. And that's what she has been talking so much about, is batching lately. And so, I mean, the thing is, the VAs adapt to whatever their client does. If you start out and say, hey, I want to try this batching, I want to try getting 10 newsletters, put together. And I mean, they'll do whatever you really need them to do and whatever direction you give them, then they can kind of run with it. So, but yeah, I am dedicated to trying that batching thing this summer.
Yeah, no, I would love to have emails like based on, topic and based on the time of the month, just kind of queued up. And, if we have time, we add to it. If we don't, we've got something to stay top of mind. But, you're absolutely right. That's the thing that keeps falling.
Yes.
Falling on the wayside. Yeah. So, yeah. Cool. So batching could work. It's a function of how we want to work and seeing how it works with the VA.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's like the main thing that you have them do is just come in and create, a whole bunch of content for you. And then, because like the way that we work is, we do have a contract, but it's month to month.
Okay.
So, sometimes we'll have people come and, they have a big project and they need help with it, and then they're done. And then 6 months later, they come back. Now, we can never guarantee that same VA will be available, but, you can just use it really as you need it.
Okay.
And I think this is a good place, Laura, if you can kind of go through what your process looks like from the onboarding standpoint. I think that's a good segue. And, remember, Laura's here as a resource. I highly recommend her and her services. I am not saying use her, don't use her. I mean, I'm saying use her. I'm saying do whatever you want. But I think it's helpful to know, like, what it looks like in a VA company versus what it could look like with an individual VA that's not in a company, just to give you kind of a perspective. So would you speak to that a little bit? Like, what happens if I say, hey, Laura, I want a VA?
Yeah. So what we usually do is we just have a conversation really specific on what type of help you're looking for, because then that helps me, and what kind of person you are. And, like most business owners are big picture people. So they need somebody who can support the little tasks that make the big picture happen. And some people come to me and they're like like mass organizers, and which obviously is like a VA's dream. But anyways, so that's what we kind of do and talk about on our first call, figuring out, where you need help so that I know what type of VA to put with you. We always give an option of, we'll either choose somebody to work with you, or you can interview a couple people from our team. Lisa, did you do that? I don't remember.
I let you pick. You had it narrowed down to 2 for me, and then you gave me some characteristics on each of the 2. And from there, I said, okay, we'll go with this one. And if I'm wrong, we'll do it again later.
Okay.
And we're fine.
So yeah, so you have those two options. Then once the choice is made, then what we do is an onboarding call. So it's between the three of us, and I have a whole, basically an outline that we go over just to make sure that the VA has everything they need to get started. They understand the scope of the work, what the expectations are, how you guys are going to communicate with each other. That's something that we always iron out right then and there. Some people prefer email. Some people want a separate channel, like Slack or WhatsApp or something specifically for their VA so it doesn't get lost in the email. So we hammer all of that stuff out, and then you're really off and running after that call. It usually takes about a half hour, and then you're working one-on-one with your VA, and then I check in with you quite often in the beginning just to make sure, that things have got off on the right foot. Are there any snags? Do we need to iron anything out? And then, from there, we check in periodically, but I'm always there. So if something comes up, if you need something outside of the scope of what your VA can do, like Lisa mentioned earlier, or, maybe it just isn't working out with your VA, we will be able to find somebody to, as your backup, which is the one, I feel the big benefit of an agency versus a freelance is that you're not starting over again, because, when you do hire on your own, as you just have to go through like the whole interviewing process and you got to start over again. So that's, I feel that's probably the biggest advantage to any agency, because, most of them would, are able to do that for you. So, and then, yeah, it's just building that one-on-one relationship and making sure that the communication is wide open, because if it's not, it's never going to work out. So.
What other questions you guys? No one stumped her yet.
What does a personal VA do?
That, so personal, really, they just do things more on like a personal assistant level. Let's say, for example, they'll make doctor's appointments, confirm appointments for them, maybe, purchase gifts. Everybody's all like on Amazon and, what have you. People will be planning parties. So, maybe they're searching for locations, trying to book whatever, the catering, whatever it is, anything like in your personal life that whenever those things come up, and even helping to pre-plan for like your, somebody to kind of stay a step ahead of you. Like, hey, next week you've got 4 soccer games with your kids, 3 doctor's appointments, and the dog's going to the vet. Like, is there anything I can do to help you out with that? Or, whatever. So anything on that personal level is usually, what they do. We had a guy that hired us to help him sell his RV. And then hired somebody, once he sold it, hire somebody to drive it because they were in a different state. So like we just handle all of it. So
Right.
Oh my gosh. That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Can you even have somebody, let's say on a future vacation that, we're all out of town, and right now my son handles a lot of we do a little warehousing and fulfillment for 2 clients. Is that something that could be done by a VA? Like,
is that in person, like physically in a warehouse?
It's physically, yes, but it's like it's not heavy stuff. So it's like a packet of brochures, like, it's like this big, or a box of folders or something. It's marketing materials for the most part.
Okay. If the person's in your area, yes. We don't typically do, in-person type things just because our VAs are all over the country. I do have some local to Cleveland. Actually, for J2H works with a local VA. So I know like they've met before for coffee, and she was going to help her at a show and things like that. So
Gotcha. Okay. So you do have some that are local that could actually
I do.
even, yeah. I mean, even if you work better one-on-one, like physically sitting down one-on-one, like, you know, sometimes it's just easier to communicate when you can actually sit in front of the person. So
Right. And have a meeting or something. Yeah, you can. I mean, the basic is that most people just like to work from home, but
yeah.
if it's something that, you know, the VA is open to, then definitely. I mean, like I had one that was in Chicago who, you know, went and met with the client for like a whole day because they were going through files and stuff together. I have one in Los Angeles that works with a realtor, and they meet every month face to face.
Okay.
So yeah.
Is there a minimum amount of time? Like I could imagine if I had a personal VA assistant that I might use them 5 hours one month and none the next, and 20 the month after that.
Yeah, which is typical. I mean, we sell, you know, we sell packages. I mean, obviously, ideally, it's like if the VA knows, hey, I can count on 10 hours a month or 20 hours a month. But our hours packages roll over. So if you bought 20 hours and it took you 2 months to use it, that's fine. So it'll just roll until they're used. Or, you know, you take a month off. Maybe it's summer and, you know, you're not working as much or what have you. Then it'll just roll over till it's used.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, is that how you purchase kind of assistance then? Is it like packages of hours and then it's typically how it's done? Okay.
And basically what they do is, so let's say you bought 20 hours. When they start getting close to that, you know, like 18, 19-hour mark, they'll let us know because we do track time. We track time for digital marketing assistants and any admin. We do not track time for social media and web design because that really falls under that creative umbrella. And it's hard to, I'm sure, Liz, you know, it's hard to track time when you're trying to be creative. So, but yeah, so they actually keep track of their time, and then they'll send you a report that tells you how many hours they worked and what they did in that time.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. And the hours approach really lets you scale up or down. You know, when you get to the end of that, maybe you're going to have a real busy period. So you might purchase 40 hours because you get a discount at 40 hours. And then, you know, like 1 month, you know, you're not going to be doing very much. So you get 10 hours or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Let's see. Back to my.
I know, because Liz has Post-its.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of covered everything. I mean, I would assume that, you know, even in terms of video, can you even help like editing down video or creating like, you know, I don't know, like a background music or something and, you know, basic editing things?
We have a few people that can do the video editing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's like for projects, you know, I mean, a lot of our VAs actually prefer project work versus long-term, you know, they like doing projects and then maybe having a little time off. And so, you know, you can always think of it that way too, that you use them, you know, as needed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I really do. I would really love to, you know, see if some marketing pieces can be kind of done, you know, and completed so that we can get stuff queued up. That would take a load off my plate so big. So
Yeah.
I have to think about that. All right. Oh, this is great.
So Liz is contemplating some marketing pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie, Dr. Amat, any things that are rolling around in your head that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'm contemplating blog posts and also just the personal assistant. Like I can imagine my husband and I both having lots of tasks that we would very readily hand off to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's nice to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it
I
might
think we would have a happier life if we could do that.
Right?
I'm like imagining how wonderful that would be.
have somebody do my groceries for me.
Yeah. Well, now Giant Eagle will do that for you. So.
Yeah, I think in my case it's not right now, but eventually probably for more of the newsletter slash information thing. Yeah, and it's not the time, but it's it's a rolling idea that's been there since day one.
And when you sit down, Dr. Mott, and write your newsletter, do you instinctively write it in English or Spanish?
Both.
The first time when you sit down to write it?
I think I do it first probably in English.
Because I'm thinking, since you said you're doing them twice,
yeah,
that's probably a way you do it once.
But I don't translate it though, so I don't like write it in English and then translate it. It's pretty much like writing it over. It's the same topic, and I cover the same stuff, but I say it very different.
Right, and I'm thinking a VA can do that for you.
So
yeah, just be open to that.
The topic and the outline.
Because you're giving it them in English, for example. You already gave them the topic and the outline and all the pieces. And so then, like you said, they're not translating it word for word.
Exactly.
They're transferring the content and creating it, and they could do that. One of the things that, and I don't know, you have to tell me if you guys know, half of my e-blast Holly writes, and half of them I write.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you can tell which ones are mine and which ones are hers, let me know.
I'm sure I can.
I'll be paying attention.
I know. Now they're going to start reading my e-blast, Laura.
I know.
Now, I do look at them, and I will do like Laura says. I will make some changes, and I'll do some pieces. But, and again, we've been together a long time. But I would bet you guys can't tell the difference. In fact, if anything, you will probably relate better to the ones that she has written. Because there's a chance you've seen her writing more than mine. But so just know that like it can happen very seamlessly. Because I mean, for God's sakes, Liz, how long have you and I known each other? I've been writing half of my stuff for probably 2 years.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So just, think a little bit broader, I think, when you're, Dr. Mott, when you're thinking, how can this look?
Yeah.
And I called her yesterday and said, here's what I'm thinking. I think I have some stuff. What can you pull together? And she pulled it together. Now, what she pulled together is nowhere near what the finished product will be, but what it would have taken me to pull all the pieces together to get it to that place wasn't worth it at all, mentally. Even not time-wise, just mentally. And now we're streamlining and switching and changing and moving forward. All right. Well, thank you guys. Anything else for Laura before we end? Okay. So you all know how to get hold of Laura. Of course, I highly recommend Laura and her VAs and her service and all of those pieces. The biggest piece today was just that you started to look at, here are some things I can move off, and here's a place that is or is not an option. And going from there. As soon as you solidify your next steps, whatever they may be, put them in the Facebook group, please, so that we can see them. Like right now, you're noodling, but I want to know what the action is once you have it. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura, for